This is a dangerous groups that we're dealing with now. It was a nightmare.
Flight 807, you're clear for landing, runway 7, Bravo.
All personnel report to the nearest tornado shelter. This is not a drill.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.
Good morning and welcome to this week's edition of The Mediator with me, your host, Brian West, here to give you the top 8 headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Now, as usual, I'll give you the top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it first, followed by a movie clip, a skit, a trailer, or something that's going on in the community, or maybe some pictures. And then I'll give you the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it in. So let's waste no time, folks. Ooh, yeah. Let's get to it. Story number 1. The Valley residents don't seem happy with the snow response so far. Now, snow-covered streets, icy and snow-filled sidewalks. This is all we've been seeing. Now, these are all of the things that have the Valley residents singing off-key to get their voices heard in the snow removal battle and the response. Now, maintenance, heating costs, and car issues are all of the woes keeping this story in the headlines, and that keeps Ohioans awake at night. Story number 2. Could more street projects be on their way to the Valley? Could they? Now, Youngstown is looking to move forward with some more street projects, and they want to include some traffic light projects in there too. Now, after the tax to repair streets got passed, it really it's really giving the road crews the ability to do more when it comes to projects, when it comes to improving the roads. Now, city residents have complained for years about bumpy roads that have really kept a lot of car repairs, a lot of cars in the shop. Story number 3 is press, the media, and the courtroom really a concern? Is it really a problem? This has a lot to do with the Sweeney case. If you don't remember the case about the little child that was murdered, was killed at his home in Struthers. Now, the media plays a big part in how a lot of court cases get noticed. Now, to the victims and to the criminals that are convicted, this story plays a big part in how they could be judged, because the media plays a big part of that, and how they get support. The media plays a big part in that as well. Now, with America's judicial system constantly in the headlines and the constant attack on the media courtrooms, on the media period, and with the media in courtrooms, these courtrooms that the media puts on blast plays a major part in how these stories develop over time, because everybody remembers what they see on TV. Now, there are even TV shows that publicize the process of not only judicial review, but how certain events occur over time inside of the justice system. That's why story number 3 is trending. Big headline. What you wanna do? Story number 4. It's official. COVID-19 is here to stay, folks, and there's nothing we can do about it. Valley residents are using the common sense approach to combat what seems like a failed effort to defeat COVID-19. Local residents and medical professionals have been busy trying to stay healthy and stay away from getting sick. Now, what the data is showing is that the people who practice good health habits are more susceptible to not getting infected. Some people have even found clever ways to prevent themselves from getting the virus by taking vitamins, working out, eating healthy, and just going on with their everyday life. That's why story number 4, such a big headline. Stay healthy, stay active, and stay in charge, baby. Ooh, yeah. Story number 5. Canfield and other local districts, they look to plan for the future. Districts are doing everything that they can to make sure their money can last, baby. Ooh, yeah. COVID-19 has made it very hard to do that, to manage money and keep students in the classroom in the process. Now, keeping parents happy has also been a top concern in this headline. Last year, Boardman saw the wrath of their parents And there's the parents of students when they put the mask mandates in place. And other districts took notice. Now, Youngstown City Schools have been in the headlines as well because every employee in the district will be hoping and praying to get the tax levy passed to meet the budget demands of the school district. City school officials have been working overtime to meet the needs of parents and students. Story number 6. The death and local crime problem has the valley looking bad, very bad. People shy away from violent communities, folks, and Youngstown is not only fighting to rebuild, but also rebuild its reputation, and everyone involved plays a big part in this rebuilding process. Now, focusing on the city's past and present state is what is keeping this story alive. The city does not want to be branded as a violent, poverty-filled and crime-infested city, which is what a lot of people make it out to be. Now, this story plays a big part in everyone who has played a role in this Youngstown process. The city, Valley, Mahoning County. Now, this includes past and current residents who can still make the future better in a city that has been wounded by death, crime, and poverty, past and present. Now, on January 23rd, Youngstown recorded its second homicide of the year after a man was found shot to death near the intersection of Market Street and East Philadelphia. That's why story number 6 made it in this week. Story number 7 in the top 2 local headlines and developing news stories that made it this week. Oh, I'm gonna make it do what it do, baby. Ooh, yeah. Story number 7, drugs still making headlines. One key ingredient that can destroy a good recipe is drugs. Sometime back, there was a drug awareness march in the city of Warren, Ohio, that had well over 1,000 people. It probably was about 100, but it was 1,000 people participating in a march against drugs. I was there looking for a story with somebody, and I saw it for myself. Now, this is a major story because it's real. It's a reality. Now, the amount of people who have admitted being a victim of drug overdoses, drug crimes, and drug brutality has been holding steady when looking at the data. Now, the drug problems are real and still making headlines, folks. Drug clinics, drug dealers, and doctors not even just them, but even pharmacy companies, pharmacy chains are all in the middle of how this story continues to develop over time. The FBI just has been raiding doctors' offices locally, especially one in Niles. Now, a 41-year-old mother was accused of handing her 11-year-old child drugs during a traffic stop. That's why story number 7 made it to the top 2 this week. Story number 8 and the top local headline and developing news story that made it this week for you. Just let your stars glow, baby. Hear love so silky smooth. Just let it shine through. Stories, baby. Story number 8. Intel set to invest billions into Ohio. That's big money. Ohio reps have been yearning to get a taste of the tech business, and Intel, a company that is a titan. That's a big word. Well, big. That word means a big thing in the tech business. They're a titan in the tech business, and they just put Ohio on the global tech map by announcing to build 2 factories in Central Ohio. Now, this story is not only a job creator, it's a business creator, folks, and a state revenue creator. Now, according to a front page Vindicator story, this could be and put about $20 billion worth of investments into the state. Technology has changed, folks, and the world is so technology savvy that in so many ways that with Intel in the backyard, it could change Ohio in so many ways. This is a huge headline that could include well over $100 billion over time. Big headline. That's why I made it to the top this week, folks. Well, those are our top 8 local headlines and developing news stories that made it in this week. I'll be right back with the top 8 international headlines. So don't go anywhere. You're the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back.
Tune in and don't forget to subscribe to Method 8 Inc. YouTube channel. You can also watch free public entertainment. And don't forget to show some support by visiting www.method8inc.com by buying something, clicking something, watching something, or just reading something. You can also sponsor a program as well. That's www.method8inc.com. Buy stuff, watch stuff, or read stuff.
Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 8 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. My grandfather, his birthday just passed. He passed away of cancer some time back. And every year my mom lets off a balloon in the sky. And this year we got a notice that her accountant had messed up on her taxes. And I looked at my mom and I told her it was going to be all right. And I told her that the tax man, if you talk to him nicely, send them a letter in the mail, call them up, and they don't answer, you can always get your face recognition software online, and you can find a way to pay. But I told her that the key, folks, is to find a good CPA. It's tax season. Find yourself a good CPA. Give them some hot chocolate around this cold time of year. Butter them up, and they'll give you as many write-offs as possible. And when you're filing taxes this year, think about my mom, because you don't want to run into the same mistakes of getting somebody who is unprofessional and does not know what they're doing when they're doing your taxes. And there is no insurance policies out there for taxes, folks. But there is a song. And when you see the tax man, I want you to play it. I want to run to you. Ooh, ooh. But if I come to you, ooh, tell me, will you file my taxes today? Well, folks, that's my story. Rest in peace, Grandpa. Let's get to it. Story number 1. How far are we away from the Jetsons? This is a nice story. Drones, flying cars, computers, laser swords. These were all things that made classic cartoons like the Jetsons and movies like Star Wars stand out. Well, year 22, we may not notice it, but we're almost there. We could be. Now, one story about a YouTuber who made the first retractable lightsaber that could cut through steel has made some headlines. Here's some other ones. Technology has evolved so much that some people even now have artificial girlfriends and boyfriends. It gets deeper. Now, if we've reached the limit if we've reached the limit of what we can do, now it's the limit that's debatable is how far can we go? But some people have refused to go any further than what we've already gone. That means that they're staying old school, which is not bad. Now, if you did not know, some people still don't even own a cell phone or a computer, and they have a good reason why they don't. Now, in the jump to 5G technology, which could harm your sperm count and increase the potential of a larger surveillance state, these are just some of the good reasons why people are staying old school. Now, either way, stories like this have stayed in the headlines. Story number 2. The drug problems continue, and many think they can't be solved, only contained. Drugs have been in just about every civilization, folks, and that includes Egyptians. Now, but what historians have noticed about human behavior is that where there are drugs, where they've been used, there are some patterns. Now, patterns of weird behavior, patterns of crime developing, and patterns of violence throughout the entire trail that when you look back in the history of drugs, weed including, all that stuff, the Buddha, these are countless mysteries that are left in the drug storybook. Now, what this means today is no different than what it meant years ago, and that is that the continued use of drugs creates problems so bad that a lot of people feel these problems cannot be solved. Now, the more you dig into this story, the more you will discover that drugs have seeped in just about everything. And once doctors found out what drugs could do in the medical field, that's when drugs became a need, folks. So this is how this story is developing. Now, this thus proves that the problems may be able to be solved somehow by only being contained. That means there probably isn't a solution to these problems, and the only way to solve them is by containing the drug problem. Now, one of the only historical documents still in mass circulation talking about the effects of plants is the Bible. The Bible is one of the only documents from history that talks about eating plants, and according to that ancient text, some trees and plants were better off left alone, not to be eaten. Genesis. Now, a 13-year-old boy died from a suspected fentanyl overdose while at school, and that's what got the story in. Story number 2, big headline. Story number 3, Democrats may want to lay out their border plans quick. Some infant remains that were found at the Canadian-U.S. border as we got the story in, and there's still a growing migration problem at the southern border between Mexico and the United States. Now, as the two parties, Republicans and Democrats, continue to fight it out, the question now is who has the better plan? Conservatives are screaming for a solution, and the pressure is on a quick fix. Everybody wants a quick fix for a still growing problem, and that's the border problem. Now, according to one Fox News report, there were 178,840 migrant encounters in December and 173,620 showing that encounters are so this is showing that encounters are increasing. So in December, it was at 178,000 and some change. And in November, it jumped up to 170. Well, it was down in November to 173,000. And in December, it jumped up. I'm sure you get the point. Now, this is why this story is storing that things are increasing. This story is still developing. That's why I made it this week. Story number 3. Story number 4. Foreign affairs continues to be a thorn in America's side. North Korea is still shooting off missiles. The Russia and Ukraine saga and the still growing tensions in the Middle East. Foreign affairs stories have stayed in the headlines, folks, and they've been a thorn in the side of American policy since the country was founded. So nobody can't seem to get over the foreign revolutionaries. Now, just to give you a clear picture of this story, well, it has people all over doing some crazy things, and when people are, and it's showing that what people have to do is when we spend, we have to look to spend on foreign affairs, because there's a lot of spending that happens in foreign affairs, and how much aid money that has to be accounted for when America spends when it comes to foreign affairs. So I hope you get the riddle. You spend on foreign, that's less money to be spent at home. So with all this stuff happening in the news, they keep these stories stay in circulation about what is happening foreign, because every time something jumps off, that is aid money. So you have to, when you look at the story, you have to look at how much money is being spent on foreign affairs, and that's why story number 4 made it this week. How much money goes into aid foreign countries to keep them happy and to keep America on stable footing? So story number 4 is such a big headline. That's why I made it into the top this week. Well, folks, those are our top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that I made this week. I'll be right back with the top 4. So don't go anywhere. You're on the Mediator. Me, Brian West. I'll be right back. If you want to check out the stories that almost made it in or did make it in, go to our Twitter feed on our website. Check out everything. All of the sources are there. And go to the website. It's method8inc.com. Method8inc.com, where you can buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Welcome back. Now it's time to get to the top 4 international headlines and developing news stories that made it this week, folks. If you think there's bad vibes floating around the city, the best thing to do is find some inspiration. It's not information, but you do want to find information, but you want to find inspiration. Find a song to sing. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Oh, I was on the verge of breaking down. If I can see it, ooh, then I can do it. If I just believe it. I believe I can fly. You've got to find inspiration. You got to find good vibes. All this craziness about killing and violence and death has put us off our tee. You've got to find inspiration, folks. You've got to find something to lift us up. And that's why this year we've got to dedicate ourselves to inspiration, life, speaking life into the atmosphere. Well, folks, short but sweet. The remix. Let's get to it, folks. Let's get to it. Mediation. Story number 5. The Mediator. Got my mojo back after that lovely song. Story number 5. The list of bad things that COVID-19 has done to the world, to America. The list is big. Here is the list, folks, of things that COVID-19 has affected. Number 1. Trade. COVID-19 has slowed down importing and exporting because of production shutdowns. Number 2, healthcare. The healthcare business has lost a lot of key players. A lot of people have died and have forever changed the healthcare business for good. Now, this includes costs, policies, programs, and preparation. Number 3, COVID-19 has affected education. So much money has been spent to prevent COVID-19 from spreading that this cost is just another takeaway in the discussion. The cost of COVID-19. Everybody wants to know where this money could be, where it could have been spent instead of being spent on COVID-19. So where could have this money been spent besides COVID? It could have been spent on more education. Number 4, travel. Vaccine mandates have caused flight cancellations, flight delays, and an employer shortage. COVID-19 has also caused a shutdown of some global travel as well, causing people to have to stay in their country and not make it to the United States or any other country because of travel. Number 5, business. The businesses that needed money the most got hit the hardest, and the businesses that have the most money continue to make the most money. COVID-19 could legally change this process in the future of legislation. That's what this virus has done. Now, this is leading us to the final thing on the list. Number 6, policy. COVID-19 has forever changed the power of government, especially in America, what government can do in the midst of a crisis. One man literally died trying to find a nearby hospital to treat his COVID-19. That's what got the story in. That's why story number 5, such a big headline. Story number 6, the story of cops and robbers continues. Stories of cops being killed in the line of duty continues to make headlines, and stories about an uptick in violence continue to make headlines also. Now, the growing truth surrounding this story is the fact that that has continued to in ongoing conflicts that are continued to go on between the police and robbers, the criminals, if you want to call them, cops and robbers. So these stories are continue to evolve, and they're very hard to solve. Now, the networks of criminals and cops, the network is vast, it's big, it spans across the globe, and the people who are involved in these stories know how vast these networks are, and that's why story number 6 is staying alive. Story number 7 in the top 2. International headlines and developing news stories that made it. Don't stop till you get it. Come on, give me stories. Don't stop till you get it. Oh, they don't make them like they used to. How is the job market, folks? Story number 7. The jobs are there, but the workers are not. This is yet another story keeping the attention on the job market. If the job stories keep up and people in these stories keep up, if people choose not to work in these stories, then the world could be seeing a shortage of supply, a shortage of products, a shortage of things that keeps the ship floating, because where there is no production, then the world can't be in motion. To make it simple, because there has to be production to keep the world in motion, folks. I'm sure you get the point. Now, the job stories are staying in circulation and affecting how the world does traditional business. That's why story number 7 made it to the top 2. Story number 8 at the top. International headline and developing news story that made it in this week for you. Party in the USA, gonna put my hands up, telling my story, the butterflies going away. All in my head like, yeah. Don't have my stories like, yeah. Story number 8. Public servants have gone above, especially United States public servants. Not in my head like, yeah. Public servants have gone above and beyond the call of duty, folks. If you haven't taken notice about the public service sector, but it has been pretty busy lately. Now, firefighters, police, politicians, healthcare workers, military, the post office, and other outlets affiliated with public service, if I didn't mention you. Now, if there were anything to be appreciated, we can appreciate them. They were not only busy, but they were busy because federal workers were busy as well. Federal workers have been all over the place. So, in the United States, there's federal. And if they were not busy before, federal workers have been all over the place now. Now, here are some headlines to prove it, folks. 6 people found dead in Milwaukee home. That's another job for public employees. Violence interrupter shot dead in Baltimore. Public servants busy again. 3 officers killed and 2 wounded, according to a Fox News report. These reports circulating in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Texas. All public workers in these states busy. 3 Baltimore firefighters are dead after a building collapsed while they were fighting a fire. And a U.S. combat jet reportedly crashed in the South China Sea. A lot of people, I think it was about 7 people injured. 2 U.S. Marines killed in a tactical vehicle crash in North Carolina. Keeping story number 8 at the top and our eye on what public servants are doing. Folks, please have some compassion for those trying to serve us. I used to do that job, and I know it is a tough job to do. Now I'm dedicating myself to serve you here in this little news studio to keep you informed. The Media Center here at Method 8. So, folks, show some compassion for the public servants, and that's why they made it to the top this week. Folks, well, those are our top 8 local and international headlines and developing news stories that made it, folks. I hope you got something out of today's program. I always get something out of doing the research. As usual, I'd like to thank all the news outlets, the journalists, the people on the front lines, the media. You deserve all the credit. I'm just the media, the man in the middle. If you want to show some support here at Method 8, or me, the man who keeps the ship afloat, it does not take much. All you have to do is visit the website on the screen, buy something, click on something, watch something, read something, or just sponsor a program. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in this week. We're headed into Black History Month, African American History Month, so let's please try to not just show some compassion for each other, for other races, for each other, but let's show some sympathy and some empathy for our fellow Americans, because this country is still a good idea, and I don't regret serving it. Thanks so much for tuning in this week. Have a good week, everybody. Thank you for tuning to the media with me, Brian West. Peace.
If you need help, then dial your operator.
Have no fear, fellow citizens. The Mediator is here.